Some people farm Diablo 2 for fun, but today I'm gonna try to farm it for fortune. Items in this game can be worth thousands of dollars, but let's just see how hard finding one of these really is. Diablo 2, while surprisingly not having the highest Metacritic score of all Diablo titles, is still one of those games that's at the core of most modern ARPGs. It's a pretty influential game in its genre. Players can theorycraft the craziest and most rewarding builds, allowing them to beat the game in their own unique way.
Oh, no way! We did it!
But once you're done with all of that boring shit, the real end game is grinding the same monsters over and over.
I did 2,205 Nightmare and Dariel runs for the ultimate goal of getting a couple Stones of Jordan, and we haven't gotten a single one yet. Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed.
So I'm gonna do exactly that, only this time I'm gonna try to find a way to farm these fabled items we hear about, one that's worth at least $1,000. But if we're gonna find $1,000 item, the items that most people are hunting for aren't gonna cut it. So what are we even looking for? To give you a good idea, let's look at one of the most decked out players I've ever met in this game. This is Matei, and he is a D2 baller. If you're an OG player and want to know the true generational wealth this guy has in-game, just take a look at this. At first glance, this might not look too impressive, but back in LOD, you could only have one of any given name on the realm, similar to how PoE and Diablo Immortal are now. Names that were simple, generic, or game-based were actually worth a lot. The name God, for example, was rumored to have sold for over $1,000. So knowing this, the names of his characters in LOD alone are pretty impressive. This guy has well over 50 items, each worth over $1,000. And most of them are worth way more. But if we're ever gonna find one of these things, we first need to understand why these are such trophies. This is a simple magic item that technically only spawned with 2 abilities, Archangels giving it +2 to sorceress skills, and Of the Magus giving it 20 cast. But these class-specific items can spawn with up to 3 random skills for that class, and when you get them in the right combination, it can send the value of these through the roof. This wand has +3 to Fireball, this build's main skill, but it also has +3 to Fire Mastery. Plus to Teleport here also saves a couple of skills in the Lightning tab. Most importantly, Larzuk blessed this with 2 sockets. Taking a magic item to Larzuk is pretty stressful, especially when you have one of this caliber, and that's because Larzuk has a 50% chance to give any given magic item 1 socket or 2 sockets, and if it rolls 1 socket randomly, it can lose over 90% of its value. Icing on the cake is that it's level 49, which is the cap for mid-level dueling, much like this item, which shares a lot of similar qualities, but for a different build. Same with this one, but for a different dueling bracket. But these aren't the only class-specific weapons that can fetch a hefty price. These are Ghost Sin claws, and when paired with the Chaos rune word, they enable the assassin to whirlwind like a barbarian. Sometimes harder than one. Some assassin builds in PvP whirlwind and use traps, and for those builds there's an entirely different type of claw with a pretty hefty price tag on it. Let's take some notes about the abilities that we see in these rare claws, as this will be a bit of a recurring theme in the other pricey weapons that we'll be looking for. This is the fabled $17,000 axe featured in this video. It now belongs to Matei, but weapons like this can give us a great idea of abilities that we should look for. In Diablo 2, items have a random chance to drop in an ethereal state. This gives them a 50% bump in either defense if it's an armor or base damage if it's a weapon. The trade-off is that that item can never be repaired, but it just so happens there's an ability in the game that combos pretty nicely with this. Replenishes quantity or durability is an incredible attribute to have spawn on these items and is the foundation of most of these godly items that you'll see. The same concept applies to armors in the form of defense. These, however, need 2 sockets in order to be worth anything. So what does all this mean? It's pretty safe to say that whatever item we find probably needs to be ethereal and repair itself. There are some exceptions to this, but we'll cross that bridge if we get to it. Then if we find an armor, it needs to have some combination of these attributes, and if we find a weapon, it needs to have a combination of these attributes. So whatever strategy we choose to employ, we need to be able to find these abilities on any given item. The odds of finding the proper combination of abilities is astronomically low. We're talking basically lottery odds low. But that's not going to stop me from min-maxing this challenge.
Does anyone in the chat knows how could I even farm these? Like, you just gotta get like extremely lucky, right?
This is Indez, and after reviewing one of my videos on stream, he was curious about how to find these items. And honestly, no one has ever really broken this down and tackled magic finding from this specific angle. That is, until now. I spent weeks with my chat theory crafting item finding strategies that would net us the best chance of farming gear worth thousands. And what we discovered flips the entire concept of traditional magic finding on its head. This is why you don't farm 85 areas. Magic finding is a concept in D2 that basically means farming. The term is derived from this ability that exists on various items. Although the attribute references only magic items, its effects actually apply to magical items of all rarities, so our chances of finding rares, sets, and uniques is also increased. Stacking this ability will be a paramount piece of whatever build we use for the job. But before we get there, what area should we even farm? To get to the bottom of this, we're going to need to dive pretty deep into the intricacies of magic finding. Players for years have farmed the same areas. Mephisto is an easy, cheesable boss with those big boss loot drop tables, but he can't drop every item in the game, unlike random unique monsters in the pit and chaos. Different areas in Diablo 2 have hidden area levels. Those area levels are related to the levels of the monsters within them, which in turn are related to the loot that those monsters can drop. For example, the unique item Tyrael's Might is a treasure class 87 item, meaning it can only be found from a monster that's at least level 87. This same concept applies to different abilities that can spawn on rare and magic items. We don't really care about these TC87 uniques as much because we are looking for rare items, much like the ones we've seen from Mate. So we're gonna have to think about things differently. This is the Haragoth tool. We used it to discover the minimum level needed to find all of these abilities on any given rare. To make the best use of our time, any base item that drops from any area, whether it's normal, exceptional, or elite, must be able to spawn with any and all of these abilities. Knowing this, you might just be thinking, why not just farm the highest area levels then? That would guarantee that all of these abilities could spawn on any item. But there's a reason we're not doing that. As it turns out, there are abilities that can spawn on rare items that require higher monster levels than the ones that we need. And since those abilities are complete garbage and we do not want them taking up an affix slot, we're increasing our odds substantially by dialing back the area level. So what's the sweet spot? In order to ensure that every monster in a zone can drop these rares, and that the unique monsters in the zone aren't too high of a level, the area level we need to target is 78. But which areas are level 78? Ideally, we would need an area that's easily accessible, meaning we don't have to go searching too far for it off the waypoint. And we would need an area that gives us a lot of bites at the apple, meaning that we see a lot of rares upon farming it. Unique monsters have a better chance of dropping rares, but in an ideal world, the zone would also contain a super unique monster. These are just unique monsters that always have the same name and are located in the same place. They also drop the same amount of loot regardless of the player count, so we wouldn't have to worry about joining games with more players in them. But we might be getting the cart in front of the horse, because we don't really have a lot of options. There aren't many level 78 areas in the game. Let's check them out. Tower Cellar level 4 is the correct area level, but only this area of the tower is. This strange side quest building increments monster levels by 1 for each flight of stairs you descend. So level 3 would be too low of an area level unless we want to just pick off the unique monsters and run, and level 5 is too high of a level. So the super unique Countess is no good. This one might do, but it's a little awkward. We also have the Cave Level 2. The Cave Level 2 also meets our criteria and isn't too bad of a place to find off the Cold Plains waypoint. Level 1 has a super unique monster that would fit the criteria we're looking for, and other unique monsters on that level would also fit the bill. This is probably good enough and might just be our target area if it weren't for the third and final level 78 area in the game. Jaren's Palace. Turns out this place is more than just demonic hordes and dead hookers. You could also find yourself some hidden gems down here. The entire palace is level 78 and contains small predictable maps chock full of elite packs. And you can get to it with one click from town. We could build a cold sorceress with a metric ass ton of magic fund and farm the hell out of this area with 7 players in the game. That'll maximize our chances of finding rares. So I tried doing just that. This is my magic find cold sorceress. She does pretty adequate damage and stacks up over 500 magic find. To some, this is end game gear, but to us, this is chump change compared to what we're looking for. But there's one problem here. Remember, we're not doing this on single player. We need 7 actual players in our game. So this is kind of a pain for these faster runs. If only there was a super unique in this area that dropped the same loot regardless of player count. Ah yes, Fire Eye. This guy is by far the best monster to farm if you're hunting these ultra high value rares. You can easily get to his area, Palace level 3, from the Arcane waypoint, so this guy is a fast and farmable foe. You know what we gotta do. I did 2,205 Hell Fire Eye runs with the ultimate goal of finding a couple $1,000 items. This is what it looked like.
Are we done already? This was one ability away.
This is actually good, right? Oh my god, this was so close. These runs reinvigorated my drive for magic finding. I hadn't felt this way about MFing since doing repetitive meth runs when I was a kid, and some of these items were getting pretty close to god tier. This armor, for example, would have been the most godly level 9 melee armor I'd ever seen if it had just rolled ethereal. It seemed like we were getting close, but how do people even buy or sell gear in this game? If you kick around a duel game long enough, you might just see people talking about it, but there's not a lot of public sites out there for people to do this, but there are some. A place like El Dorado is great for finding more of the common currency type of items we see in video games, from Diablo titles to old school RuneScape and so much more. This place is way cheaper to purchase in-game economic staples than most other places you'll find. Ordering is also super simple on this site, and there's a variety of secure checkout methods. To make things better, verified users have trust scores that can help guide you to the fastest and most reliable sources. There's also trade protection and even 24/7 chat support. So if you're looking to buy cheap, El Dorado is where you go. If you're looking to buy even cheaper, use my link below or code COOLIE at checkout. I farmed this gem of a mini boss for literally thousands of runs, and while I found some pretty nice items, it always seemed like the best ones were just 1 or 2 abilities away, and unfortunately, that made them worthless. According to the Hrogath tool, it would take a lot more runs on average if we hope to find something like this. There had to be an easier way. Luckily for us, we might know someone who's done this before. You got a lot of these items from trading.
You trade non-stop. Yeah, non-stop trading and stuff. Depends. In-game trading was the thing back in the day.
I spoke directly with Matej, owner of these ultra-rare items, to see if there was any hope.
I got them from both trading and the majority from RMT. But the thing is, I got a lot out of trading before I had the money to get them out of RMT.
So if someone wanted to, even nowadays, it's completely possible for them to trade their way up to a $1,000 item using sites like Tradery or JSP.
I think it's possible. I think it is possible, and the prices have really gone up now recently, so I think it's even more possible today.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Acquiring items worth thousands might not have to be so all or nothing. So I set out to trade my way to $1,000 without ever spending a dime. But what's this trading world all about? There are 3 big ways that items are traded or exchanged in Diablo 2. Tradery is a site that helps facilitate in-game trades across the world. Players can basically find any specific item that they desire and exchange it for whatever in-game currency the other user is asking. D2JSP is a site that exchanges a site currency called Forum Gold. This can be bought, but most people don't. It's common for new users to just strike up their first trades and start collecting. For real money trades, well, most of it happens on Discord. Some of the popular ones are D2R auction trading and D2CT, but the real big spenders are the ones you find on the niche Discord servers like Melee or SynPK. But in order to understand how we get there with a trade strategy, let's look at what these currencies are and how they all relate to each other. Jaw runes are sort of the common currency in D2 today. This item is not only rare in-game, but it's also super useful. Many people trade their gear in terms of jaw runes, which are currently worth about 100 forum gold. Conveniently, they're also worth about $1 US. But for items that might be worth 500 jaw runes, it's impossible to fit that into the trade window in-game. So, items like these are a step up in common currency. There's also the 25 charm, worth about 30 jaw runes. Jewels like the 4015 are also used as currency, but the fabled 32020 charm is the king of all D2 instruments. It's basically the $100 bill. And that's why all these forms of trading, regardless of how you feel about any certain one, are all closely related. So for the first time in a long time, I went on a trading binge. I was blown away by how quickly I could turn my trash into treasure. If you know where to look, even the most obscure items that you've found can find a home. They can sometimes bring a surprising profit. Slowly, I upgraded my trading instruments and finally got rid of some items on mules that were just collecting dust. And eventually, I pulled off something I haven't done in all my 20 years of playing Diablo 2. This is a 100% perfect inventory of charms on my paladin. Collectively, this inventory is worth about $1,000, but ironically, I'd never sell it. As far as what I acquired during the time of this challenge, well, here it is. I got all of this in the course of about a week without spending a dime. We had done it. Not in the way that I expected, but a learning experience nonetheless. I'm glad that we discovered Fire Eye, and I'm also glad for the trading journey. Both of these approaches reinvigorated my love for this game. These are the simple endgame chases that so many titles shy away from these days. It's kind of faux pas to talk about items being worth money, but this concept of outside value, whether it's regulated by the developer or not, has been a common theme among the most memorable ARPGs of all time.